Family, familia, what's good in the hood? What's good in the hood? Uh, Good to see you. JB here. Just wanted to talk a little bit more about what is commonly known as non-duality. Non-duality. Nothing can be said about non-duality. That's the really funny paradox of the whole thing. Nothing whatsoever can be said about it. Nothing can even get close. Words cannot get within a billion light years of what is actually being pointed at. It's kind of like we have like a machine gun crossbow, and we're constantly firing words in every direction, and there's just nothing for them to stick to whatsoever. And that's even true with the most direct, non-dual language and pointers. It still doesn't get close, and that's really important to understand. Very important to understand, because it's really easy to just get caught up in a non-dual story of, oh, there's no one here, this is nothing, this is void, or this is God. Whatever it is, it's very easy to create a mental image, a mental construct of what that might mean, and then reify and fixate that mental construct and miss what is actually being pointed at. So one of the most direct, so with that being said, let's try to talk about it. Why not? What else is there to do? Everything's already perfect in a profound sense, so it's nothing to do but be you, as the great Illuminati Congo says. What is it? How's that bar go? He's like, the one thing to see, there's nothing to see. Set consciousness free, let it be, let it be. The one thing to do, just be you. Nowhere to go, nothing to know. Yeah. So one of the most direct ways to see what is being pointed at, or to point at non-duality, is to say that there is no you, there is no separate individual. Because non-duality is a lot about seeing through all of the solidity that we have projected onto everything. We project this overlay of a world of separate objects. It's basically a conceptual fabrication of a world of separate objects that we project onto everything around us, which could be better described or more directly described as simply naked radiance, simply naked appearance of pure dancingness, pure weightless, ungraspable, etheric nectar, spaceless juiciness. But we project a world of separate objects onto this spaceless juiciness. And the most fundamental object that we project, the one that is perhaps at the root of all the other objectifications, concretizations, all the other sense of solidity, is the concretization of the I, the concretization of I am, the concretization of the self, that there's really someone here, someone solidly here who can be found, who can be grasped, who is real. And so, yeah, one of the most direct paths is to really interrogate that notion and ask yourself, is that really true? Can I find a self? If I look really directly, can I find a self? You know, there's no denying that there appears to be a body here, but what exactly is that? When you look at this body, which, you know, is just pixels on your screen. But even if I were standing right in front of you, what actually is this that you're calling a body? It's a constantly moving, a constantly morphing interplay of colors, textures, shapes, and it's different in every single instant, is it not? It's literally continuously moving, morphing, flickering, distorting, dancing. In a single minute of being with another quote unquote person, you actually experience infinite, infinite impressions of what that person may be. The body is literally instantaneously, continuously, in every nanosecond, appearing slightly differently. You know, if you look really closely at reality, you'll notice that this is the case. Everything is buzzing, morphing, flickering, shifting. And so, and we reduce all that. We reduce this infinite artistry. We reduce an infinity of living, etheric sculptures, living, etheric dancingness is to a supposedly solid, continuous object that we call not only a body, but a person, a self. And a huge part of non-duality is simply seeing that that is extremely reductive, that that is almost a preposterously criminal reduction and simplification of what's really going on here. If you look closely, you can't find you can't find a body, you can't find a self. You know, this becomes especially clear if you close your eyes and you just feel your body. What do you feel? You feel this dancingness, you feel this buzzingness, you feel this subtle electricity, this vibratory shiftingness. And if you just be with those textures in a very naked way, it is quite clearly revealed that what you're calling a body is actually a kind of activity, a kind of morphingness, a kind of shiftingness of whatever this infinite energy is that we call life. And similar with a self, you look for a self, and what do you find? You might find an ever swirling and ever morphing flurry of images, sensations. Maybe there's kind of some solidified sensations here, supposedly behind your eyes, that feels like a little me sitting there in your brain, kind of pulling the controls or something. You find this ever passing, ever morphing flurry of thoughts, sensations, memories, ideas, feelings, emotions. And you, again, we make this preposterous criminal reduction and we call that a continuous, findable, solid, discrete, objectifiable self. And it's just not there, just not there in that way at all if you look closely, you know. It can be experienced that way. If you don't look closely, that's certainly what life feels like. Feels like this is me, here I am, I'm in a world, I'm moving through the world, there's a lot of things I need to do, this is all really important, it's really real, I have a long to-do list, something needs to happen, I need to get somewhere, something needs to change, something needs to be achieved, something needs to be proved or healed or reshaped, reformatted, upgraded, awakened, evolved. You know, the sensation of me comes with this really quite devastating, endless to-do list, this endless feeling of something needs to be different, something needs to change, something needs to happen. And a big part of non-duality is discovering the freedom of actually, no, that's not the case. Nothing needs to happen. And in fact, in a most profound sense, nothing even can happen. What you fundamentally are does not fundamentally change. Nothing you could ever do would change it one iota. Nothing you could ever do makes any difference to what you truly are. It just is. It's a done deal. Now is the finish line. If you exist at all, you've already crossed the finish line. Everything is already in an absolutely finished condition of total liberation and total freedom. And non-duality is simply about noticing that that is already the case. That is already the case. And with that noticing, a large relaxation can occur, because then, you can set down this feeling of endless busyness, this endless feeling of, I need to be doing something and I'm holding so tight and this is all so important and oh my gosh, what can we do for this broken world? I need to do something and you know, the me tends to be in a continuous state of anxiety or agitation, even if it's just low level. It doesn't feel at home in the world. So non-duality is about this discovery that we are completely at home in the world. And from that place of total at homeness, action still arises, and actually it arises in a way that is more spontaneous, more artful, more skillful, more organic, and ultimately more harmonious, more truly intelligent than action that arises from the me's endless desire to try to control reality according to its whims and desires. Yeah. So there's many ways to approach this investigation, this inquiry of non-duality. You've got to find the ways that work for you. Essentially, you're trying to find reliable ways to snap yourself out of normalcy, snap yourself out of your stories, snap yourself out of your interpretation, and simply be with uninterpreted experience. And one way to do that is to, again, just look for a self. Look for, what does the word self actually refer to? What does the word me actually refer to? What does the word I actually refer to? And if you look closely, and if you're really honest with yourself, you will discover that there's only this ever shifting, ever moving, ever morphing flurry of naked sensory data. You can't even say what it is. You can call it color, texture, sensation, feeling, emotion, but we don't know what any of those words refer to. Again, you not only can you not find a self, you cannot find anything as a definable, graspable entity. But the self is the most fundamental concretization to look at, because it's really the one that seems to be most foundational. It seems to be the one that really all the other concretizations foundationally hinge upon. It's probably the first concretization that arises around age 2 or 3, begins to arise and solidify as the world conditions us to believe in the consensus reality view that we are separate individuals living in a world of separate objects, and that we have all this very important business to attend to. The elaborate hoax, which ultimately is also just the play of this here now, which seems to enjoy forgetting itself in these explorations. Seems to be one of its dominant modes, is forgetfulness and losing itself in story and interpretation. It seems to like a good movie, a good mythology, and it enjoys being fully subsumed, fully immersed, fully lost in the mythology. I guess that makes it all feel much more visceral, much more all-encompassing, immersive, and real. But at a certain point, we all start to get tired of the ruse. It starts to become difficult at a certain point. We feel a certain weariness with the world. Maybe we start to suffer a lot, and we start to ask, is this all there is? There must be something else. This can't be all that there is. And thankfully, it's not. That's around the time that we start to look closely, we start to inquire, we start to take off the masks, we start to ask ourselves, what is reality? what is this naked display that I have called life, that is spontaneously generating itself from nowhere all around me, that is spontaneously made out of pure infinity? How is it seemingly self-generating an infinity of artistic detail, continuously morphing and shapeshifting into new, never before seen artworks and iterations of itself in every instantaneous nanosecond? How is it rendering in perfect clarity? How is it doing that? Is that the activity of a finite brain? Could a finite brain generate an ever morphing infinite tapestry? Or could there be something more profound going on here? Yeah. And it turns out that there is. And it's fun, it's cool, it's miraculous. It's also utterly ordinary. It's kind of boring, it's kind of humdrum. It's just you eating a slice of pineapple pizza. That turns out to be a miraculous act of God, but it can just look like anything. It can look like your humdrum everyday, day-to-day existence. And yet it's not. It is that in a sense, and yet it's much more than that. It's vastly far beyond that. And it turns out that discovering that far beyondness and immersing in that far beyondness and discovering the true richness, lusciousness, the satchitananda, the isness, vividness, juiciness, blissfulness of this empty fullness is quite wonderful. It's quite freeing. It is, as Jim Newman says, what is truly longed for in our heart of hearts. Just the simple recognition that this now is home for no one, and that it is endlessly rich. And it's this right here. It's this right here. It's this infinitely abundant mystery that never goes anywhere. Never goes anywhere. Just just always right here. Where else could it be? Where else would it be? Where else have you ever been? Have you ever been anywhere else? No. If you look closely, you haven't. You've always been right here. You've always been right here in and as this naked immediacy that is completely unsayable and indescribable, and that cannot be resolved, pinned down, or found to be any separable or discrete entity, but is rather a morphingness, a continuum of naked naked energy, naked juice, naked electricity, purity, absence, innocence. All right. Hopefully there were some useful pointers in there for you. Yeah. Much love, much peace, much joy. Wish you the best, my friends. Trust God, trust life. Trust now. All is well. All is already well. Peace and love.